So how's it going? Zach D Productions here. So for this video, I want to do an album review / rant video for you guys. So for this review, I wanted to give my take on the newest album by Dead by April, The Affliction. So it's about time, right? It's about time we get a new full-length release from Dead by April, because the last time that they've released an album was, I believe, back in 2017 with their album Worlds Collide. Why it took them this long to come out with another album is beyond me. I'm not sure at all. Especially given the amount of singles that they've released throughout the years. I mean, that's something that's very weird to me about Dead by April. At first, during the 2020s, when 2020 started kicking around and Dead by April, released more just standalone singles, I thought, okay, from this point moving forward, they're probably just going to be a singles band. They're not going to release any more albums. They're only going to release songs, singles. Now, what's really weird to me is when they did drop this album, The Affliction, it's like not all the singles made it to the album for some reason. Some of the best songs that they've done in this current era of the band didn't even make it on the album. Where was Memory? Where's that on the album? Collapsing, where is that on the album? That's one of the best current era Dead by April songs, if you ask me. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Not really sure. It's really odd to me that they would leave out certain songs. And heck, those songs probably could have made this a better record, to be quite honest with you, because I'm just going to say it. This was not a good album. It was not a good album at all. I think this is easily Dead by April's worst album. And the album cover, let's start there, all right? Let's start there. Let's start with the album art, the album cover. The album art, to me, I don't know why. It could just be me. I don't know. But I can't be the only one that's thinking this. But the album art looks like it could be from a melodic death metal band. It doesn't really look like it could be from a band like Dead by April. That's just me, though. So, I don't know. Find that kind of weird. But the music itself, I was not a big fan of. I was not a big fan of the screams on the album. You know, I think Jimmy, their original harsh vocalist, he was the best fit for Dead by April. Which is kind of funny because he did come back for a little bit and then they threw him out again. So, yeah, and then they get this new guy. I'm not really a big fan of his screams. You know, I wouldn't say that he's bad. I guess it depends on his delivery, and, his range and everything. But I just think Jimmy had the best range in Dead by April. And even his clean singing I liked as well. And I still think Jimmy is a talented guy, because he can do the growls, the harsh vocals. He has good range with them, and he can sing very well. But I don't know, this new guy, he doesn't have what, even I think Christopher Anderson is his name. Even he was a better harsh vocalist. I thought he was a better fit for Dead by April. But I don't know, this new guy, I'm not really a fan. Sorry, I'm not really a fan. And yeah, these songs, they range from just being unoriginal to annoying to just plain and simple not good. Now look, I know that Dead by April has always used electronics in their music. They've always created this unique style of metalcore where they fused it with electronics. That's something that they've always done, even back in the day, back in their early days. But I just thought it was done better back during the days of their debut. Yeah, their debut had electronics to it, but at least it still sounded raw to some extent. Like, I mean, come on, did you ever hear the drums on that album? They sound so crisp and clear, but like with this new album, like it just sounds very overproduced, and it's just not good. You know, like the production, I'm not a fan of either on this record. Now, I did notice that some of the singles that they've released, in recent time, have actually made it to the album. Like Anything at All, that's on the album. Probably one of the better songs on the album, to be quite honest. Yeah, but like I said, like they left out certain songs, like they left out Memory and Collapsing, which, you could have easily swapped out, a couple of these songs and put them on the album. So yeah, the album, it didn't really flow that well for me. So I do want to talk about the things that I like about this album now. Like, is there anything that I do like about this album? Honestly, there's probably only one song, maybe a couple that I like. Like I said, Anything at All, I think it's fine. It's never been one of my favorites of the singles from the current era of Dead by April, but it's a fine song, I guess. It's not all bad. And I think Dreamlike is actually a pretty good song. It's actually probably my favorite on the album. I think it's pretty catchy. It's kind of memorable. So yeah, it's kind of an enjoyable track, even though, you could make the argument that it's overproduced as well. It's a little too much, you could say. But I think it's a solid track for what it is. And I think Swarm Mode, I mean, I'm not really a fan of this track, but I think it has some decent vocals from Pontus. And that's another thing that I could say positive about this album is Pontus's vocals are not so bad on the album. They're not so bad, but I've definitely heard better vocal deliveries from him on past Dead by April albums. So overall, this album, it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it, to be honest. It really doesn't. I mean, it's honestly a big disappointment, to be honest, which I did expect, not gonna lie. And I thought their last album, Worlds Collide, was, a bad album. I take back every bad thing I said about that album, because that album is worlds, see what I did there, better than this album. This album is crap. I'm just going to say it. And there's some weirdos out there, some hardcore DBA fans that, will say, oh, well, you don't know what good music is. Like there was someone in a comment section that told me that I don't know what good music is because, I said that Dead by April was going downhill. Well, they are. I mean, come on. You can't sit there and tell me that this new album is better than anything that they've done before. Really? So this is better than the debut? You really think that? This is better than Incomparable? This is better than Let the World Know? I don't think so. You are out of your mind. So yeah, this album, it was crap. Definitely would not recommend it. So yeah, I mean, if you want to listen to Dead by April, I would just say stick with the first couple albums, to be quite honest. I mean, I think they had a very strong debut. I mean, for a metalcore band, they had a pretty strong debut. And I say that because metalcore bands usually don't have the best debut, but Dead by April is one of the few that do have a very strong debut, and it's actually their best album, in my opinion. It's them at their most raw, their most creative, and the songwriting was great. The hooks were catchy, like they were just so many memorable songs. Like you got Losing You, Angels of Clarity, you got What Can I Say, Erased, Promise Me, Sorry for Everything, In My Arms, Carry Me. You have these brilliant songs like that on their debut. You don't get anything like that on this new album. You don't get anything like that. And they don't write songs like that anymore for some reason. And I don't get why. It's kind of weird because it's like, I'm all for bands trying something different, exploring different ideas, because obviously you can't do the same thing over and over and over again. That's one of the problems with bands like AC/DC, for example. They do the same thing over and over again, pretty much. But it's like, sometimes when a band does experiment, try something different, it doesn't really go over well for them. And this is kind of an example for that. I mean, this album, it has some of that Dead by April core sound to it. Like, you can listen to a lot of these songs and say, okay, yeah, it sounds like Dead by April. It does, even though, it's not as good as what they used to be. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really confusing situation, because it's like, you don't know what to do. As an artist, I would imagine it's very hard, because it's like, you either try something different and, you make some fans mad, or you just stay the same, but that also makes fans mad. So yeah, you can't always please everyone, as the saying goes. But yeah, I don't know. I just think when it comes to Dead by April, I mean, maybe the idea of them just being a singles band isn't such a bad idea, to be quite honest. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they got to do better than this, though. That's all I'm going to say. They need to do better than this. And they're capable of writing good songs still, because look at songs like Collapsing in Memory, like I said. Those songs, I think are just as good as some of the stuff that they've done back in the day. So if they could just keep at it with songs like those, then I think they'll be on the right track. And I actually do enjoy the orchestral songs that they've been doing as well, especially for songs like Memory and Collapsing. Very solid orchestral tracks, orchestral versions of those songs. Really did enjoy those. Heck, I would love to hear like a whole album with like just orchestral songs like those from the band. I think that would be really cool. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that would really be enjoyable. That would be really solid. See, that would be experimenting in a good way. So, yeah, overall, not a fan of this album. This album didn't do much for me. So, The Affliction by Dead by April, not a good record. If I were to give this album a score, I would give it, honestly, probably a 2.5 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not giving it like a 1 out of 10 or anything is because, well, like I said, I think Pontus sounds good on certain tracks, and I also do like the song Dream Like a little bit. And Anything at All is fine. It's a fine track, I guess. Never been one of my favorites, but it's fine, I guess. So those are my overall thoughts on the newest Dead by April album, The Affliction. All these years pass by and we finally get a new album, and it didn't end up being good. Wasn't good. I'm sorry, Dead by April, if you happen to be watching, I'm sorry, but when I review music, I do give my honest thoughts. So keep that in mind. So thank you for watching.